Welcome to Business Leaders Coach Podcast. My name is Toyo Shimbi, founder of Business Leaders Coach, where we educate, enable, equip, and empower you to be the best leader that you can be. Now, today I'm going to ask you a question. Do you know yourself? Well, that's a question that we all should be asking ourselves. If you are a leader and you are leading other people, you need to know yourself. Today, we're going to be looking at that. I'm going to give you 3 questions that you should ask yourself in order to uncover more of what helps you to operate to become the best leader that you need to be. And then you can cascade this to your team members. Now we're going to be taking a leaf from the Startup Leadership, a book by Lidow, and this is one of the sections that he talks about that the first thing that any entrepreneurial leader should uncover is that they need to get to know themselves better. Now it's interesting because I totally agree, because I see this time and time again. Many leaders will call me in and say, "Hey, Toye, could you help me with my leaders? Could you help me coach these leaders? Could you help me train these leaders?" And many times we get on with it. And what happens is we take these leaders through all these kind of processes, questions that really gets them thinking. And what happens is that the team members have figured out a lot of things about themselves more than their very own leader. And that's where most of the problem starts, because now what you've done is that we've opened the eyes of the team and not the leader. So this is something for you if you are the leader of the team, because this is really going to help you. Now, one of the stats that Lidow highlights is that for many businesses, right, where the goal is to reach self-sustaining, unfortunately, only 2% of businesses actually reach that point. And a lot of times it's down to the leader. And the leader is not self-aware. The leader is not able to grow and able to take that business to that next level. So what are these questions? How do you get to know yourself better? And why is this important? Well, as I said, it's important because knowing yourself is what's going to help you build a great team. Knowing yourself is going to help you know your motivations and what drives you. And knowing yourself is also going to help you know your strengths and your weaknesses and the areas of your competence and the areas where you need to grow in your competencies. And so what are these 3 questions? I am taking a tip here from Derek from the book, as I said, because it's the one thing that he said, if you're going to focus on any area first, and in this case, this is for a leader of a startup business, but I think that it's at any point in time, as I've had conversations with leaders who have been leading their businesses for a number of years, multiple entrepreneurs in terms of serial entrepreneurs. They've ran businesses, set up businesses. And I remember speaking not too long ago to a business owner, and I asked him about his purpose. And he said, "You know what, Toye, I've never really thought about that. I just get on with it." And so I am speaking to, yes, perhaps younger leaders that are just starting off their business. But I also know that this is relevant for many leaders along the way that have never had to process this. So this will be quite short, to the point. But let's get into the kind of questions and what you should focus on first. What should be the first area to focus on? Because you see, you need to grow yourself as you grow your business. And that's a principle that would never, ever end. As you keep growing yourself, that's how you grow your business. And Derek mentioned that if you want to focus on anything, focus on knowing yourself. And focus on knowing yourself in these 3 specific areas. Number 1, know your motivations. Number 2, know your traits. And then number 3, know your skills. And this comes out in different language. I'm just now using the language from the book. And so I'm going to give you some action steps that you can actually apply today as you start to progress towards leading your enterprise, your team, or your organization. So motivation. Now, motivation is so important. As many of you would know, Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, which I also would recommend. And it's a good place to start because your motivation is going to be the catalyst to give birth to any new ideas to your business or any other ventures that you're doing. Your motivation is what should be the trigger. And so you need to answer the question, what motivates me to be an entrepreneur? What motivates me to be a leader? What motivates me to actually take charge? Why am I doing this? What's driving me? And what might come up initially, like I've spoken to many, and some would start off by saying it's money. Oh, I just want the money. And over time, there's something called the 6 whys. It could be the 5 whys or 7 whys. But you keep on asking why until you get to the real core of what it is. And as my friend Obi Abuchi has shared in his book, Leading from Your Core, you really got to get to that core of what it is. And that's a question that you need to ask. And at the beginning, it might be as an entrepreneur, you might say it's to be your own boss, or it could be to be in control of your own time, to fulfill your calling. But it's a question that you need to ask. How much do I want to be an entrepreneurial leader? Right? And then ask why. And I would recommend get a journal and simply write out your answer. Don't just answer it in your head. Connect it by writing down and really taking time to think through what your answer is. Yes, I want to be in control of my time. Yes, you might say. For me, yes, I want to be in control of my time. Yes, I want to run my own thing, but there's a lot more to it. I'm a person of faith and I'm seeking the welfare of my city. And you might hear me say this time and time again, because I do really believe that if the leaders of businesses are flourishing, then businesses are flourishing and businesses make up a city. And so what you will find is that when people lead well, the people flourish. I've seen this time and time again, that when I've trained leaders that have really understood their role as leaders, and then I've spoken to their team members, they enjoy their leadership. And I always say that my vision is that when people sit round the dining table, they will talk about you in a positive light. And that is changing our society. And so this is what drives me to make whoever I'm able to influence to take on board these very important leadership principles. So what is it that's driving you? Number 1. Number 2, traits. This is the next area. And we've talked about this in episode 13 when we looked at the 6 Ps, and we talked about Tetramap as a means of understanding your communication profile. We've talked about Myers-Briggs, and you can take a free personality profile test. There'll be a link in the show notes. Take action, get to know yourself better, and you'll be able to use language to explain how you operate. And then there are other things that you can do to get to know yourself. Emotional intelligence is a really good way. And there's also a link to an emotional intelligence workbook. If you have the time to go through that, there's a lot of questionnaires in there. If that's something that you need coaching on, that's why we're here to help as well. But it's really important that you understand how you work and what your traits are, because that's also going to help you as you're building your team to know what complements you and know how you also can partner with others and add value. Okay, the third is in the area of skills. The interesting thing is that this is the area where you're going to need to keep on developing. And the first thing is just simply being self-aware, because self-aware in itself is a skill and it incorporates everything else. And so being more self-aware about your own skills is the starting point. And there are other areas as an entrepreneur and as a leader that you are going to need to develop. And I would normally call these skills competencies. And we've got 22 specific leadership skills that you can turn into habits that if we coach you, we can coach you on so you can develop those competencies. But the first one is obviously to just be self-aware of where you are. And then you can then measure your own skills or your competencies as whether you're basic, whether you're competent, whether you're a master, or whether you are best in class. And there are certain skills that you need to be best in class in as an entrepreneur, which are the skills that will help you to beat the stats that only 2% of entrepreneurs take their business to self-sustainability. And so if you want to do that, that's something that you need to really hone in. But today we've looked at the first thing that you need to focus on, which is what drives you, your motivation. And we've looked at the 3 areas that you do need to focus on. It's all sort of under this banner of what motivates you. It's under the banner of, first of all, knowing what motivates you, knowing your traits, and knowing your skills. And if you are able to uncover this, what you'll find is that it helps you to keep on growing and keep on moving forward, because it's your motivation that's really going to help you when things are up or when things are down. And the interesting thing is you would also be able to help your leadership team do the same because you've gone through it yourself. So this is Toyo Shimbi for Business Leaders Coach. Again, you can go to businessleaderscoach.com to watch this or listen to it. Please subscribe, or if you are watching this on YouTube, subscribe. If you're watching this in any of your podcast platforms, also if you can subscribe as well, that would be brilliant. I hope this has helped. I hope this has helped you to understand and get to know yourself better so that you can be the leader that you need to be. Speak to you soon.